can see it's been an absolute roller coaster week for you guys. Obviously, the theatrical release in the UK and just generated an absolute storm all over social media this year. I watched the film
Yeah.
for the first time on Sunday with my girlfriend, who she really doesn't like horror films. She's scared a lot of them. I'm a big horror movie head, so I was obviously looking forward to it a lot.
It's
And
good.
she thought it was amazing, and I absolutely adored it. I thought it was incredible.
Thank
Um,
you. Cheers. Yeah.
just firstly, in terms of the decision to go with a 57-minute runtime, which it really is unheard of in a big horror film like
Yeah.
this. From my perspective, it made total sense because the horror within the film reflects the current situation everyone's in with the idea of being isolated. So there's no real reason to do much character development because everyone's feeling the same as these characters at that time. Was that the main thing that made that decision for you so easy?
Yeah. It was mainly because me and Rob just thought it would be funny if it just ended when a free Zoom call ended.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was genuinely the main impetus. It wasn't. We weren't thinking about, oh, how are we going to like change up the film industry by making a short film the norm. It was more like, this is the right amount of time for this particular film. And we'd come from a short film background. We'd made a bunch of pretty successful short movies, and our attention spans are quite short as well. So it just kind of made sense. We made it to the length it needed to be, and it didn't need to be 90 minutes. Most movies don't need to be 90 minutes. No
100%.
movie needs to be 2.5 hours or 3 hours. Something like Tenet. Nothing needs to be that long.
Mm.
So we just made it for the amount of time it needs to be. And I think now we're living in a time where theatrical doesn't necessarily need to be the main uh, place to put your film. Therefore, your film could be any length, because that 90-minute mark is a real arbitrary number that was designed in the 1920s. Not for now, where people want to. There's so much to watch and so much to kind of choose. It's really difficult to get someone's attention for more than an hour. So it's just a really good length of time, and I'm really glad that people have cottoned on to the fact that you don't have to have a 90-minute movie to be successful and for it to be enjoyable.
And it's no secret how the concept of this film came about. Obviously, it's well publicized that it was that prank call from Rob, and
Yeah.
then things took off from there. But for me, just as a fellow film fan, I know you're a massive film fan yourself anyway.
Yeah.
Um, is it massively commendable for you to get it off the ground so quickly and get it released so quickly? How easy was it to get it together in time from the concept to reality?
um well, obviously, when we did that prank video, it wasn't the intention wasn't to make a full length movie. It was just to put something out there, because we'd been waiting to make a film for ages. We were just about to kind of start making a film, and then lockdown happened, and then we couldn't make the film we wanted to, or at least got pushed back a little bit. So just the fact that we got the opportunity to make a full length in quotation marks again,
Mhm.
feature film is crazy. And it was really Shudder who came along and saw our prank video and gave us the money, and they kind of put their faith in us to make something decent. It was really them who kind of made us think it could actually happen, because we got offers from multiple different studios and platforms who'd seen that short. I say a short, it wasn't really short, it's just a silly prank video.
Mm.
They saw that and they were like, oh, these guys kind of know what they're doing. Even though that was literally press and record on Zoom and that was it. So they were like, okay, where's the feature length version of that? And like we always do, we just pretended we did have a full length one. And then Rob asked me, Jed, do you have anything? And then, as again is well documented, I text him 2 words, which was Zoom seance, and
Mhm.
it went on from there. And yeah, like all credit to Shudder for giving us, putting their faith in us and giving us the money to make it, and letting us do it with our friends as well. Like, we genuinely just made it all with our friends, and it's crazy that a film that is kind of was on a niche platform, was released on a niche platform, There was no advertising. We didn't even have a poster or a trailer when it came out. We only finished it 2 days before it came out as well. It's amazing how this film has just gone across the entire world and blown up so big that it doesn't make any sense to me, really. It really does break all of the rules of the film industry. You're not meant to be able to make a film like this with your friends and for it to be this successful. So yeah, and in answer to your question about did I think how hard was it, and did I think it could actually it could put it together? Yeah, I knew we'd be able to put it together because my friends in the film industry are really, really good in terms of doing their job right. And we have this WhatsApp group called the Quarantine Movie Club, and we use everyone from there, from the stunt guy, from the costume lady, from the producer, from me and the actors and Rob. So we were kind of confident in our own skills. It's just no one had done this before in lockdown with the restrictions that we had. So yeah. So in answer to your question, yeah, I did think we could do it, but I didn't know we could do it this well.
Because that's the main thing that is the most impressive. It's having the movie so good standalone within itself, but then to do it in the midst of a pandemic with lockdown restrictions and stuff. You can answer this in any which way you want. Obviously, I don't want you to feel like you're giving away any movie magic or anything like that. But just
It's fine.
logistically, in
Yeah.
terms of getting people to act those scenes on their own, how many people were around each person in their own environment? And then I'm guessing with the stunts and stuff, that was all post-production as well.
So everyone filmed it in their own real houses, and the producer, who was Douglas Cox, and the director Rob Savage, they were just on Zoom in their own houses, directing the girls, telling them what to do. But the only people that were in the girls' houses were them and their family or partners, and it was up to the girls to do a lot of their own things like lighting, sound, set design, and things like that. And obviously they got their partners and their parents and stuff to help them with a few of the stunts, because they had to do a lot of the stunts themselves. And a lot of when you see cupboards blasting open, that's mostly someone pulling string. It's as easy as that.
Oh wow.
And the Haley's chair getting pulled back, that's just Haley's boyfriend pulling her back on the chair with like climbing ropes. I know it looks impressive, but then obviously in post, then you've got our VFX guy Stephen Bray, who takes out all of the ropes and makes it look good. But regarding the stunts, we did have a stunt team, Lucky 13 stunt team. Nathaniel Martin kind of runs that company with his partner, and he had to do a lot of things remotely. But sometimes he could be in the same house, but at a safe distance. He had to build a rig. Say, for example, when Alan drops from the ceiling in Radina's house, he had to build a rig. He played Alan. He dressed in Alan clothes and waited on the ceiling until the right moment, and then dropped. And then Steve painted out all the ropes. But yeah, all of it had to be done within the guidelines. And about halfway through making it, the guidelines softened a little bit, where you had your bubble, but then you could have like one other bubble, and that really helped us. And also, if you're really eagle-eyed, you'd see sometimes when the stunt's happening, it's not in the same house. We've used a stunt house. There's a house that's full of stunt people who are our friends, and especially in Emma's sequence, she has like multiple things that happen. That's like 5 different houses that we've used in order to kind of do all those things, because we couldn't just do it in one location because of lockdown. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. You blow my mind with everything that you've just said then.
Yeah.
Another thing that was really impressive, which definitely made the film stand out, was obviously demonology and the spiritual world. We've seen a lot of that in the past few years, but your idea as to the origin of this demon was very specific and something that I've not seen in a film before. Is that an actual thing that you read up about, or was that idea created just for this film?
So we had multiple. We knew we wanted to do a seance, and we had multiple ways in. And I'd been researching into tulpas. I'll explain that in a second, because we had multiple ideas what this thing would be, and um, because I'd been looking into tulpas quite a lot, I kind of suggested a tulpa. And what a tulpa is, it is a being that's manifested through groupthink. So, for example, if you think hard enough about something, and as many of you doing it, then that thing will come into being. And in fact, if you look into it, Freddy Krueger is basically a tulpa, because at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy turns away from him and he disappears, and that's basically what a tulpa is. If you ignore it, it kind of just disappears. So because this group of women firmly believed in this seance setting about Jack, it created a mask, and we wanted to kind of keep the mask theme as well. And then an evil spirit stepped into that mask and became Jack. So yeah, it was. And to be honest, we wrote this in like 2 weeks, so it was almost like the first thing we thought of would go in there, and then we'd kind of like try and fit it all together. This probably isn't the best way to write things, but I'm quite fast in coming up with ideas, and it was relatively easy. And because we knew we were going to use our friends, and we were basing it on a real seance that we did just before we started filming, we got all the girls into a real seance, so we could see what they do. It was actually like relatively easy, and all of the scares and all of the kind of deaths. Me and Rob, we knocked out in about 20 minutes, like back and forth, me and him. Just because we have like a Rolodeck of like cool ways to kill our friends on film in our head, so it was quite easy. And we just basically looked at the Zoom features list as well, and we tried to see, okay, what's cool on Zoom, what can we do. And we'd had, from the start of lockdown till about 6 weeks in, which is when we started filming, we'd used Zoom the entire time, so we kind of knew how it works. So yeah, that was quite an easy process.
Yeah, in terms of the innovation you've used through Zoom for this film, obviously you tease things throughout the film, like someone's got a face filter on at a certain point where they shouldn't have a face filter on. You're thinking, why have they not turned the face filter on? Obviously, from a filmmaker's perspective, it's very deliberate as to why that happens, and it is absolutely stunning when it does come to fruition. You watching that back and seeing the finished product, what is that like for you to see how you've used all the different variables?
Because I'd worked with Rob for a long time now, I was confident he would pull it off, and I was confident the VFX would look really good. So I didn't really doubt it would be good in the first place. All my job is to make sure like it's scary, and make sure the ingredients that I kind of contribute to make it as scary as possible. And because I'm like a student of horror, I watch every horror film, I study every horror film, and I literally go frame by frame in my favorite horror films to find out how things are done. Even though we didn't have very much time to kind of write this, it's very, very specific, and it's essentially an equation of how to make, in my mind, like a perfect horror. And as long as you put in all of the ingredients, you'll end up with something really good. And I've had this horror formula for years and years and years, and like it just keeps working. And I'll never tell anyone what it is, because that's it just keeps working.
Yeah,
but if you can like retroactive, you can kind of break it down if you wanted to go through hosts and figure out how we did everything. But it's essentially about foreshadowing and making sure everything pays off, and the amount of kind of exposure you give to a character at the start in order to get the maximum effect of them dying towards the end. But yeah, it's I mean, I'm constantly surprised at how much it's been, how much attention's on it.
And then coming off the back of that film, you and Rob signed that 3-picture deal with Blumhouse, which is absolutely amazing. You must have had goosebumps when those conversations happened, because anyone that knows anything about the horror movie industry or the film industry in general know how much of a powerhouse that production company is. And then for you as a horror fan yourself, to the first picture to be with Sam Raimi, that's ridiculous, isn't it? That's amazing.
It is, and I forget sometimes like how how cool all this stuff is. But like Sam Raimi's my favorite director of all time. Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
And just the fact that all through lockdown, actually, because we had the Sam Raimi film actually sorted before Host. People
Okay.
think it's because of Host, but
Right.
it's off the back of our short films. Really, he really liked those. So all through lockdown, we were having Zooms with Sam Raimi about this other film, and we kind of just speaking to him all the time and getting tips from him. It kind of really fed into Host into kind of like what makes a film like entertaining, because like how Sam works is he thinks about the audience, like how are the people in the audience going to feel, and that's always kind of been my way, but he solidified it that when you're making a film you should be thinking about the the kid in the audience who's watching this film, and maybe they've had a bad day, and it's your job as an entertainer or filmmaker to like make them feel as good as possible, or at least make them leave the cinema and think, flip, like, wow, that was amazing, and they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends.
Mm.
It's like true escapism, and that's the beauty of the cinema. And if we manage to do that with Host, it's a lot to do with like the fact that Sam Raimi kind of helped us. So yeah, the Sam Raimi thing, and then we've got a prison film we're doing with Studio Canal,
Mm.
and then the three Blumhouse films. Yeah, it's crazy. We're shooting the first Blumhouse film right now.
Yeah.
Another couple of weeks left to shoot. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's not what people expect, I think, but I would say it's scarier.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And obviously, you mentioned Evil Dead 2 there, the influence that's had on you. Just in terms of the other films that specifically influenced Host for you as
Yeah.
a horror film fan. I know Rob used that footage from Rec in the prank video. Was that one of them as well?
Yeah, like most of the big fan footage films are a little bit of an influence. Rec's definitely a big one. Rec and Rec 2.
Hmm.
I would say the biggest influences though are Blair Witch Project and Ghostwatch,
Yeah.
which is, if you've seen it, it's it's a one-off Halloween special the BBC did in 1992.
Okay.
They're the biggest influences in terms of effectiveness. The authenticity is a big thing as well with found footage films. It lives and dies by its authenticity. If there's any element that takes you out of that, then you have a less effective found footage movie. So we kind of use what they did in the Blair Witch Project, which is you use people's real names. We go one further because we used real friendships, which Blair Witch didn't do, but we've used real friendships, real conversations. If you have any music, it'll take you out of it as well. So it's as authentic as possible, and it makes you feel like you're on a Zoom call, just like this.
Yeah.
So, other influences, I personally, there's a 1984 horror film called Night of the Comet, which is my favorite film, and the dialogue in that between the two female leads is brilliant, and I see some of that in Host as well. But yeah, I'm just a fan of horror movies, and fan footage I would say is kind of up there for me for one of the best horror subgenres, because it makes you feel more scared because you think this could be real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when people first saw the Blair Witch Project, they went nuts. And that's why the Blair Witch Project is one of the most successful movies of all time. And then it's Paranormal Activity, which is both found footage movies. So it really does something. And people have really tried to replicate the success of the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity with doing their own found footage films, but they don't know the formula and the technique of found footage enough to make it work. And I guess Host is being compared to those films now, and which is really cool.
Yeah, rightly so. And you mentioned there that essentially we are living in the world of Host right now on Zoom. Just out of curiosity, did Zoom ever reach out to you and be like, "Listen, you're gonna significantly harm our revenue a bit. You're gonna scare the shit out of people for using our platform"?
Well, we asked them. It's the first thing we did. We asked them if we could use Zoom, and
Yeah,
they said yes, and they provided us with all of their assets.
perfect.
So yeah, they're fully aware. But since it's been out, we haven't heard from them, I believe.
Mm,
But I actually think it'll do good business for them because
yeah,
more people will talk about it, and more people will sign up for the premium version because it, it won't cut out like it does on
yeah,
Host.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it
Yeah,
might make them a bit of money. And
and
actually,
then,
in Japan, Host is called Zoom. Uh,
right.
Hopefully, we don't get sued for that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and then the aspects like you mentioned of it being very unique, where it's actual friendships displayed in the film. Is
yeah.
that an avenue that you'd like to go down again in the future, in future films?
What do you mean, like more
In,
fan
in
footage
ter-
movies?
just in terms of anything that you work on, obviously aside from, I don't
Uh,
know what the deal is with Blumhouse, but would you be more than happy to use that formula again of having real friendships displayed on a film that you're working on?
yeah. There is an element of that in the first Blumhouse movie.
Okay.
Um, and I think going forward, yeah, you'll probably see that in every thing that me and Rob do together. Um, Separate, like when Rob does stuff himself, when I do stuff myself, then um, I don't know. I can't speak for Rob, but I know I will be using Friends because it's just easier. I don't like I would hate to be in an audition and have to audition for me. So like I don't want to put them through it. So if I know someone's good, then I might as well just use them. And if they're a friend, that's even better, really.
Yeah.
Um, and with found footage, like I say, authenticity is the main thing you need to kind of portray. So having real, genuine friendships is priceless, really.
And then
So yeah,
finally, as well, obviously at the end of the film, you show that séance call between the cast, which you're in yourself. What
yeah.
was that
Do you know
like?
what? I haven't actually seen that.
Have you
Uh,
not?
no, that's on the digital download, right?
Yeah, yeah. We watched it on Sky the other day, so
Yeah, nice.
it went
Obviously, I was
straight on
there.
to that.
But, yeah, that's really cool. It's like 9 minutes. So
Yeah,
technically, I'm in a host now, which is great.
yeah. You are. You
I
are
need to
technically a star.
I need to get paid for that. Sorry, what was your question about it?
Just what was that like? Was it nerve wracking at all, being a part of something that obviously you've made the film, so
Yeah.
you've structured the film, so it's not going to scare you as much as anyone else. But just being part of a séance, what was that like?
So we'd actually done another seance before that, just me, Rob, and Gemma, the other writer. So we did a seance before that just to get the kind of vibe, and then we did one with the girls. And then we did another one after the film was out with Slash Film. Did we do any more? But we done a whole bunch.
You're asking for trouble there, mate. You're asking for trouble.
Well, I like, even though like I'm making horror movies and stuff, I don't believe in it. I'm very
Yeah.
skeptical about everything.
Hmm.
Not afraid of ghosts, not afraid of monsters.
Okay.
The only thing you should be afraid of is other people. They're the scary thing. So I don't. You'll probably. I don't know if you can see it in that because I haven't seen it, but you could probably say I'm very skeptical, or it like maybe I was playing
Pretty
that because I
laid
knew it was
back.
being recorded. Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, on the DVD and Blu-ray, there's some extras, and you see. I don't know if this information's out yet, but you see another seance that we do. So, and that goes on for like 2 hours. So you'll get to see a lot, unless they cut it down. But I think it's like 2 hours of all of us in a seance.
Hmm.
And yeah, you'll kind of see I'm quite skeptical, and like I want to play along, so I don't want the medium
Ruin
to
the
feel
atmosphere.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, all of the girls very much believe in that kind of stuff. So no, I wouldn't get scared of that, but the girls definitely would.
Yeah. And there were a few like slight little things that happened in that seance that were a big influence on the film itself. So how was that the goal with it, or was it just a bit of fun? was it quite organic how that happened?
So we just, because we only had 2 weeks to write it, we just wanted to kind of see what they would do in a real seance, so we could just literally write that. And as soon as we came off that call, that Zoom, me and Gemma and Rob stayed on, and I was like, Gemma made that up. Gemma, that wasn't real. Gemma made that up. And they were like, do you think so? And I'm like, yeah, Gemma had rigged that. Gemma had, I'm guessing that she tied something to a book and she pulled it and the book flew off the shelf. I think she did that. I don't know for certain, but like, I think she did. And that's what made her part in the film happen, like organically, like she was a trickster, because it was originally the other way around. It was, but then Gemma Hurley, the other writer, was just like, it can't be the other way around because Gemma's the trickster. So originally it was Haley. Haley was the one that told the story, and Gemma was the straight one. But no, it's not scary at all. It's actually like quite a lot of fun.
Fair enough. You've got bigger balls than me, mate. I would not touch anything like that. No chance. Especially after watching that as well. I will not be going anywhere near anything like that.
Did it scare you then, host?
It did. It did. Like, I watched them more out of. I just find them really fun. I love horror. Like, I'd probably say horror is my favorite genre because I love like the mythology behind like big franchises like Nightmare on Elm Street, and even stuff like Paranormal Activity. Like you said, that was a big part of my childhood. I was sneaking into cinemas when I was young, watching all those in the cinema.
Nice.
What he did scare me, like the techniques that the use of the tension, you could cut that with a knife, and that is absolutely huge. Where you want the jump scare to release the tension. That is such a key aspect of horror, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's why, like, usually in big horror movies, like Conjuring, things like that, you have music to tell you when to be scared.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you take away the music, you don't know when to be scared, which makes you even more scared because it's just like, when is this pain ever going to end? Like,
you want that anxiety to just stop. That's what it is. And you're exactly right with that. That is the way to go.
The last 10-15 minutes of host, we don't let up. We're just bang 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 bang, and like, we just don't give you a chance. And I've never seen a movie do that before, where it's just continual scares and just escalating and escalating and escalating. And that's why people have really kind of loved it, because it is a bit different and it subverts a lot of the normal horror tropes. Like, you think Caroline's going to go up to her attic and then she comes back down and gets a selfie stick, and it's a little bit of like levity. It's I enjoy watching it myself, but I think I get more scared because it's my friends. I watch my friends on screen. I was like, oh, my friends are in danger, but like, and I know they can't be because I wrote this.
No, I take my hat off to you. That was an incredible achievement, and you got there ahead of the rest in terms of using the concept, like, to get that quick turnaround and take advantage. This year has just been about people taking advantage of their surroundings and the circumstances, and you guys as filmmakers have absolutely smashed it with that.
I think if it wasn't for us, there would probably be like 200 Zoom horror films, but I think because we were first and we were so big, it's prevented people from going, oh, we'll make one, but because they won't really be able to compete, really. I mean, even if they spent 200 million on a Zoom horror movie, it's probably not going to be as good. We're still 100% on Rotten Tomatoes as well, which we have been from day one, which is crazy for a horror movie. But
Well, massive congratulations, mate, and I can't wait to see the future of yours and Rob's careers, and to see the film with Sam Raimi that you've worked on. Likewise, I'm a massive fan of his career as well. It'll be good to keep in touch as well, mate. Hopefully, you can do many more interviews in the future with your career.
Yeah, hit me when we got that first Blumhouse movie out early next year. Then hit me up.
100%. Right, I'll let you carry on, mate. I know you've had a busy day, but really appreciate your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Okay, take care, man.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
See you in a bit.